60 years ago this summer, John Marshbanks arrived on the Campbell College campus for the fall semester in 1965. By the time he graduated 4 years later, no one in Campbell basketball history had scored more points than the 6'8" center from Marietta, Georgia. Now, more than 55 years since John left Buies Creek, only 3 players have amassed more points in their career: Chris Clemons, Jonathan Rodriguez, and Sam Staggers. It's no surprise that John was inducted into the Campbell Athletics Hall of Fame in 2006. However, John Marshbanks' life has been about much more than basketball. He had a tryout with the ABA's Miami Floridians, but his professional journey took a different turn. Entrepreneur, teacher, coach, lay minister, John has assumed many professional titles in addition to husband, father, and granddad. And through the years, he's remained in contact with his teammates, classmates, and his alma mater. My name is Stan Cole, class of 1987, and this is our next installment of Tales from the Creek, where we visit with the people who've made this place special over the years. I'm delighted to be joined today by Campbell Hall of Fame member John Marshbanks. Welcome to Tales from the Creek, John, and thanks for taking the time to visit with us.
Thank you, Stan. I appreciate this, and I'm very glad you're here. Thank you.
John, I'd like to just start at the beginning. How did all this get started? Tell us about what it was like when you were growing up and how your interest in sports began.
Well, I always liked activity, and sports kind of fell into my lap in a sense because getting into high school, I felt like I needed to play a sport somewhere, somehow. I started with LaBelle Elementary School in the 5th grade when we moved from downtown Atlanta out to Smyrna, Marietta. And I tried out, Coach Red was one of the teachers, and he had a middle school, I guess is probably the best way to put it. But I tried out for the basketball team. My 6th grade year got cut, 7th grade year got cut, 8th grade year got cut. And then, but in the 7th grade, Coach Red decided that I was good enough in math and bookkeeping. He made me the bookkeeper on that traveling LaBelle Elementary School team. So I kept the books, the stats on the sideline there with how many misses and how many free throw shots and stuff like that. And the crazy part about it was I was just taller than some of the ball players that were walking in the gym at that time. But when I tried out in the 9th grade, I thought, well, I'm 6'2" in the 9th grade. I still can't touch the rim. So I decided, well, maybe I'll play football. And then I'll try out for basketball a little bit later after the football season. Well, again, in the 9th grade, I got cut off of the basketball team. Coach Holcomb was the coach at that time at that freshman basketball high school, R.L. Osborne High School. And I tried out again in the 9th grade after being turned into a pretzel one time as a tight end. I went out for a stop-and-go button hook pass, and they said, I'll throw it up high so you can jump up and get it. Well, I thought I caught it. Well, I can't even remember whether I caught it or not, but ended up the boy came running right through me as I was in the air, and I did a backflip and whatever else you could call it. Ended up on the ground, and they drugged me off the field, of course. But after football season, I tried out again, and Coach Holcomb and can't remember the other little fellow's name, but really good guy, was a really nice guy, was helping him out. But again, my sophomore year, they cut me off the team. I didn't make the team my sophomore year. And I literally went back and begged the coach for a uniform. By that time, in sophomore year in high school, I'm 6'6" now.
Okay.
I think I remember touching the rim once in a while, but I didn't know physically how to jump or how to put that whole mechanism together to be able to jump higher. But Coach Holcomb said, look, he said, you're tripping over that white line they painted in the middle of the court, and I haven't seen you hit a free throw yet, but you're tall. He said, I can work with Coach Padgett. J.L. Padgett was the varsity coach at that time. He said, I could work with J.L. Padgett during PE. He's got a formula for helping people learn how to jump and run and not trip over the line and walk and chew gum at the same time, stuff like that. So I said, oh, gosh, that'd be great, man. So my sophomore year, I played in like 3 ball games. I think of course, we were way ahead before Coach Holcomb would put me in because I couldn't. I was skinny, not strong. So he put me in, and at the end of the game, when we were way ahead, and I think I scored a total of 6 points all year. And but I did get the trophy my sophomore year, most improved basketball player. So I had that, and that was encouraging. But Coach Padgett was the one in high school at Osborne High that allowed. We had just moved in my sophomore year. We started that brand new high school on Favor Road, right there, closer to Smyrna actually than Marietta, and actually was in 2 miles of. I walked to school off of Walton Way. I could walk to school. There was never a basketball court close by or a playground close by my house. I never had a basketball at home. No basketball pole or hoop or backboard or anything set up at the house. The other things were more important for my parents. Both my parents, Robert and Frances Marshbanks, were deaf. Daddy could hear and worked for. The reason he came to Atlanta was he was a very, very accomplished woodworker, finished carpenter, finished woodworking, and did what's called a circle head. It's a method of putting together large rosary windows and large glass, large doors with a lot of molding and everything. And he could read blueprints. He learned that at Flint, Michigan School for the Deaf. Mother never had a job. Of course, there was an older brother and me, and then my younger sister, all of us about 3 years apart. Mother learned at Virginia School for the Deaf. She was stone deaf. She learned at Virginia School to the Deaf everything with had to do with sewing, like upholstery or seamstress or repair. That she could have had a job, but she was busy, of course, with us as kids. And so I never had a active parent guidance, but I had some great adults in my life that helped me along, like Coach Padgett. My goodness, he had a program, and during PE, he sent me under the bleachers, concrete bleachers in that gym, and there was a set of weights and jump ropes, and then he said, here's your schedule. He said, you just come right straight in here. And he said, I'll have some things will change and some things won't. And I'll work with you one-on-one off season as well as during the basketball, during PE, so that I can teach you. One of the first things I actively participated and had a good time working with was the rebound machine. In that gymnasium was a brand new McCall rebounder, orange metal contraption, crank on the side, big hoop bucket in the top of it with this arm sticking out. See if you can touch that. Crank it down. See if you can touch that. All right, here's what I want you to do. I want you to reach up and just pull that arm, pull that arm, pull that arm. So as we get some strength in your shoulders and arms, and then they said, here's another thing we're going to do. I'm going to put several balls up there. So I want you just, don't worry about going to get the ball. I want you just jump up and with your right hand, tip it out. Jump up, left hand, right hand, right hand. Just pogo. He said, pogo, up and down, up and down, up and down like that, just so you can get some leg strength too. So that was the kind of workout that I was getting my sophomore year. Of course, it continued my junior year. I did make the team my junior year. And at that time, that was 1964, my junior year, there were really good ball players. I think in 62 or 63, they went on up into regional championships and part of the state playoffs and stuff like that. Never won anything, but they were strong. And these boys, like Brian Phillips, was a large football player, and Van Ness was on that team. And they were large football players, and they were very physical. So here I am, a stick running around a bunch of big rocks out there on the basketball court. So I was learning at the time, but at the same time, I was getting pounded pretty bad because I was trying to play defense against these folks. But all the time, I'm getting better. Now, okay, Coach Padgett says, here, take the ball, do a right-hand layup, left-hand layup. Again, I'm pogoing under the bucket, under the bucket, under the bucket. Okay, when you get through with 100 of those, back up to the free throw line. I want you to do nothing else the rest of practice but shoot free throws, shoot free throws, shoot free throws. And I thought, okay, I'm doing it. That's what I want to do. I'm going to make this happen. If I'm going to make it happen, if it is to be, it's up to me. So I'm going to be a ball player. He had a lot of confidence in me because I felt like he was grooming me for for another time. And even though Brian Phillips wasn't as tall as me, but he was bigger, and worked at Dale Cannon, Mike Nordholz. Mike Nordholz went on to Auburn. In fact, that whole senior team, my junior year, all of them got either basketball scholarships or football scholarships everywhere. Mike Nordholz still holds a shooting record, I think probably it's like mine, as much as mine, at Auburn University,
Wow.
where he had several records. So it was a really strong ball club. I probably consider myself seventh man, sixth man, eighth man. Anyway, when we were winning, I could get put in at the end. I was averaging like 6 points a ball game, I think is what it ended up. But I noticed as we played that they would put me in right toward the end there, and I was always hearing, foul him. He ain't played. He can't play. He can't hit a free throw. And sure enough, my percentage, that was the next trophy I got. My junior year was the highest percentage free throw shooting, and that was the reason.
Right.
The point was, he knew that when I got in at the end of the game that they would foul me and I would need to hit free throws. Well, that junior year, we did win the county that was Cobb County championship. We won the regional championship, and this is in the 5 AAA, the big high schools in Georgia. And then we won the regional. Then we went on to the state championship being held in that large round arena down at Georgia Tech.
Old Alexander Memorial Coliseum.
Alexander Memorial, this was. And my junior year, we went in there, and it was packed, standing room only. I've got a recording on the radio, from the radio. One of the guys, Dale Cannon's friend, put it together of that ball game as we were playing. And there's either Fred Smith or David Phillips. David was like me. He would go in and substitute, a little bit better ball player all the way around. But one of them fouled out with like 2 minutes to go. We were like 2 points up or 3 points up, something like that. But there I am, put Johnny in. Johnny Marshbanks goes in. And the final minute and a half or something crazy. And sure enough, they fouled me, put me on the line. I hit both of them. And we won the state championship 5 AAA basketball of Georgia. And that was an exciting time. I mean, I've got pictures, high school yearbook pictures and stuff like that, and still I really can't believe that kind of thing happened to me. But in fact, that 1964 team, Osborne High School has put that whole team in their high school Hall of Fame.
Right.
I just attended that like January, and they put us in the Hall of Fame at that high school. And for that whole team, it was great to see a bunch of those guys come back and be able to play with them. But then my senior year, I was a starter because that whole crowd left, and there we were, Doug Chandler and Collins and young David Phillips. Brian was his older, bigger brother. David Phillips and several good ball players. But my senior year, we won lost the county, won the regional, and then went to the state and lost out in the quarterfinals of the state. I ended up averaging like 13 points a ball game my senior year. At that point, I began to realize that I had probably gotten a couple letters from like Oglethorpe or Middle Georgia or somebody that was interested in me coming to play basketball. My sophomore year, I was at Mars Hill when I first met Dr. Burgess Marshbanks. He made a comment to me because I was 6'6" at that time, my sophomore year in high school. I think that was the first year or the second year we had a Marshbanks family reunion in Mars Hill. And he made a comment to me about I didn't know where he was from or whatever, other than he was a second cousin of mine. He made a comment to me, "Oh, you playing basketball?" And so such. Well, that senior year, I got a letter from Fred McCall.
How about that?
As we'd like to come see you. We got some video or film or whatever from and some scouting reports from the state tournament. So I said, "Well, I'm interested in come and take a look." So I had taken a look at Oglethorpe and a couple other places, went down to Valdosta State, where, in fact, David Phillips, Brian went to Valdosta State, and David Phillips was also, and I think actually Doug Chandler either went down there. No, Doug went up to Rome, Georgia. Anyway, I got a plane ticket to leave Atlanta, Georgia, and to fly up into the Raleigh-Durham Airport, first flight I'd ever taken in my life. And when I can't remember whoever picked me up from the airport there in Raleigh-Durham was noticed that I was kind of pale because I was a motion sick, prone type kid. And there I am at 6'8" now, my senior year, and weighed, I think, about 165 pounds, like a toothpick. Still had trouble with that white line on the court once in a while, but I got to where I think they called it potential.
Mm-hmm.
Potential. And I was averaging like 13 points a ball game, and we had a good year. I remember the thing that I was aware of, that my parents, being deaf, had never watched me, and they never came to the tournaments. They never came to the state playoffs or anything else like that, or the basketball games locally, because as a deaf parent, they were looked at, laughed at, however you want to say it. They just were uncomfortable. So they never watched me play basketball through high school. And I did not take that as a non-supportive or I wish you weren't playing, because every time I came home or whatever, all the friends, Penny Rhodes lived behind me. She was one of the cheerleaders. I would ride to the games with her, or Doug Chandler or Cliff would come pick me up to take me to the games. I was always able to walk to practices and walk back home in case, I didn't have, Dad was still at work because we lived out there and he had to drive in. In fact, it was my senior year before Daddy ever had a car. He would wake up at 5 or 5:30 and my mother would have breakfast for him and go back to bed, but he would walk down to Jones Shaw Road and thumb to Belmont and get a ride or catch a bus from Belmont, which was 5 miles from the house, 25 miles from Belmont Hill Shopping Center into Atlanta. So he was always never able to be with me. I found great comfort and a bunch of great friends when I went to LaBelle, because I joined the Boy Scouts.
Mm-hmm.
And there were several, really, Jay Gibbons and Wyatt Walker. Wyatt Walker, I still think, lives right around the corner from me, and Jay and his brother Jim are still right there close by. But they were good to me. Those people were good to me. I remember the principal brought me in the office one time and said, "I got something for you." And he handed me a packet, and it had my senior ring in it. He paid for, and it had the graduation certificates in it with my name on it, and for me to mail out to high school graduation friends and family. But they took care of me.
John, what was it about Campbell that made you decide to choose there? Go out of state, a long ride.
That was important to me because not only was the connection with Dr. Marshbanks there, when I got off that airplane, they brought me in there, and I had people like Pete Wish. Oh gosh, yeah, that was. I remember Yencho, Bob Yencho,
right,
and Joe Saranac, Benny Dean. Those were the boys that were like seniors that year. Also graduating that year was in '65 was Bobby Etheridge.
Right,
Bobby Etheridge was there. So when I got there, the coach gave me a day to kind of get acclimated or get my land legs back. The boys, Joe and Yencho took me over to Mom's Grill right outside of Coates.
Right.
And the biggest doggone T-bone steak I've ever seen in my life laying off the plate. And I guess Fred McCall gave him a little money, spending money to go take me out to eat. So, but that next day, we got there, and that night or that afternoon, the team got together, and Fred McCall said to Bobby Etheridge, "Take Johnny inside there. Johnny, you guard Bobby, and I want him to show you what that inside position looks like and feels like around." And by the time that scrimmage was over with, I felt like a golf ball. I had all these little dings in my arms and dings in my back and dings in my chest, where every time Bobby moved, he would pop that elbow back just to let me know that, listen, I'm aware of you there. If you get too close to me, I'm going to really whack you with my elbow. So that was a lesson in itself. And I knew not only was that a good family feel that was going on there. When I got there on campus in '65 to look at it, the bricks, there wasn't even a brick sidewalk. It was all sand path, and they had just started a little bit of that brickwork. A lot of people don't know that they raised the brickwork on the edge there because we had some blind kids that were there, and that's how they used their stick to find the way to go. They would pop it on the edge of the brick.
How about
that? Was on the edge of the sidewalk.
I have no idea.
We had a great wrestler that was wrestling at that time, was blind. Yeah, and I had never seen college wrestling. That was really good. But I ended up, after I'd seen Valdosta, and it was too hot down there, I felt like this feels good. And Dr. Marshbanks is right here. I met and talked with him a little while I was there. Stayed a couple of days and with some more scrimmaging and stuff. Then when I decided to go to Campbell on a full scholarship there, I came back for that basketball camp. Man, that basketball camp, I thought, I cannot believe all this. Well, I actually came back because, number one, they said that I had to do the pre-English and the pre-math because I didn't have enough scores. 785 on the SAT was kind of low, and I would need to make sure that I could do the work, and I did. I made 2 B's on that work. But at the same time, here I am going to summer school and basketball camp. And that basketball camp, I'm talking Malloy, Cook, Pistol Pete Maravich, all those coaches. And we had 26 gymnasiums, 26 thousands of kids running all around. I was in a day dorm or something as one of the counselors. But we started that scrimmage work at the end of workout or end of lessons and right at supper time. Oh my goodness. I learned real fast that I not only had to be quick, but I had to be big. I had to carry my own at that point. And I learned real fast what kind of ball player I needed to be when I was in college playing it, because it's different. It's big different.
Absolutely.
And of course the workouts were tough and everything. But yeah, getting hit in the head by a pistol pass that didn't even look like he was passing my way. I still don't know how that ball got over to me, but I played on his team once in a while and against him several times. But hard man to defend, and what a great experience, because people like professional coaches Dolph Shays were there. Oh, and Johnny Wooden, my stars, Johnny Wooden came and stayed with us and coached on the field, on the courts with us. I can remember one, I can't remember which one. Oh, it's Dolph Shays that was talking about how Oscar Robinson would head fake and had them big eyes, head faking, and then make a move to the right or left and head fake again. He concentrated on how to get open and how to be the ball player you needed to be. So I not only learned, number one, how to shoot a better jump shot, how to be a better big guy inside, but also learned technique. I learned how important pivot work was, and that was one of the stations we worked with, is how you pivot against that defender. And watching the ball players that play now, oh my goodness, I could not have held my own. I probably could have learned, but there's a whole different ball game from when I played, and we played some really good ball clubs all over the place. But coming to Campbell was the best thing I ever did. That freshman year was a good year. We had some good playing going on. I actually averaged my freshman year. I was playing on the varsity team because I don't think they had a freshman team at all. But my freshman year, I was playing. I hated. I remember one time Bob Yencho was playing center, and Saranac was playing one of the guards, and at that time Gary Davis was playing, and Frankie Stewart was there also. Frankie would come in and sub for Benny Dean and Pete Wish and them, and then I would go in for Bob Yencho. And I didn't know why I was taking a senior's ball player's place, but obviously I averaged 14 points a ball game, and that average is pretty good for not playing a whole lot, but I did play my freshman year.
John, share with us your relationship with Coach McCall and what he and his family, how they impacted your life.
Fred McCall was probably the best thing adult-wise and supervision-wise and coach-wise that was the best thing in my life at that point, because not only, the crazy part is he paid so much attention to me that they began calling me Johnny McCall. Yeah, I was Johnny McCall at that time because I guess they thought that I had been adopted by Fred McCall, but I had met his wife. In fact, his wife was teaching biology. I remember she was a great teacher. And the girls were young, like Dr. Marshbanks' girls were all small kids. And if I wasn't playing with one of the times I remember in the summer school, when I was in summer school, the Marshbanks kids, Alice and let's see, it was Lynn and Alice and Anne Marie, now, came to one of the intramural games that summer, and I was over there throwing them up in the air and swinging them around, playing with the kids, and of course I was there because of basketball camp and summer school, but I always was able to come to Dr. Marshbanks' house and Mary Jane, and I was always either babysitting. I could babysit once in a while, or I would come and do handy chores and stuff like that with them throughout the time that I was in Buies Creek. But having those kids, this is the funny story part of that. One of the girls that was playing on that girls' intramural team, back then you couldn't wear shorts unless you were playing on the intramural program, so that girls were out there. There was a bunch of girls playing softball. Cheryl, my first wife, Cheryl Jordan from Clinton, North Carolina, was one of the ball players on one of the intramural teams, and she ran in over on third base, and she looked over there toward first base, and right past the first baseman, there's Dr. Marshbanks' pickup truck and the three girls and Johnny Marshbanks slinging them around and throwing them up in the air. And she remembered telling that girl that was standing on the base at third that now that guy would make a really good daddy, wouldn't he?
How about
Playing
that?
with those kids. Ended up not looking for anybody, not wanting to date anybody, but my sophomore year, they came together and said, hey, look, we're going to go to Raleigh and do the Embers kind of before season starts. We'll go to the Embers, and everybody's going to have a date, I think. So I thought, well, I'll find Cheryl and see if she wants to go. And sure enough, long story short, she did get to go with me, and I took her up there. That was didn't date her again until my junior year, and I asked her out again. We ended up, because I didn't have any money, and she would go home a lot of weekends to Clemons, where her dad and mom lived. And I didn't get to see her a whole lot, but when she was on campus, we'd eat lunch once in a while and go to the campus movie. She'd pop popcorn, and I'd buy a 5-cent pack of chewing gum. About all I can afford. But coming to Campbell allowed me to be the athlete with the coaching with Fred McCall and Danny Roberts as his assistant coach. That's the first, they were the pair at that time. We had some real good ball games and some good seasons beginning to pick up. I can't even tell you record-wise if we had winning seasons or not, because I haven't taken the time to look it up or anything. I'm sure, Stan, you can look that up to find out.
Well,
65 to 69.
Right. Your senior year was the first 20-win season on the senior college level in the program's history, so it did build from there.
Wow.
Right. While you were at Campbell, it would have been the fall of your junior year, Cordell Wise enrolls. And became the first African-American student at the school. If you will, share with us a little bit about those times and your relationship with Cordell.
I remember that because the first thing I remember is a transfer from Temple. And then for the life of me, I did not see that as important as it was for Campbell as a student body and the University College at that time, or my club, my basketball team. It wasn't like he was black. It's not like he was different. I just knew that we had another great guard, guard forward type swing guy. Looked like he could handle the ball great. And sure enough, that was wonderful. The addition to the club. And I remember him being quiet. I can remember him being literally a gentleman. It was important for me from my background growing up in Atlanta, Georgia, and the background with racial things that could have been happening. But really, I wasn't. The high school I went to wasn't integrated, and I think we ended up my senior year. We had some black come in, but it wasn't that serious. It wasn't like a lot of other areas that were having difficulty at any time. I didn't see it as an imposition in any way. I didn't see it as racial. I didn't even know what stuff was going on campus that had anything to do with Cordell. I just knew he was a good basketball player,
right,
and he was fun to be around. He was right there. It was really good because he was an addition to the team, and consequently was able to improve our winning season as we got along, because the people had left my senior year. My junior years, whenever we lost the guys Gary Davis and Frankie Stewart. Frankie Stewart stayed around and helped some too, but some of those guys had graduated. And so there we were playing ball together with a new bunch of boys my senior year, and had a good bunch of guys,
John, on December 1st, 1967, you scored a school record 46 points in a win over Mars Hill College. What do you remember about that game?
That was an interesting game. That felt good. See, that's Mars Hill. That's the Marshbanks reunion family. There's some family cut there on my dad's side of the family. And it's not like they were at the game, the family or friends, but it just felt good. One of the things, let me go back to my junior year. My junior year, I had no idea that my junior year that they all of a sudden I had scored 1,000 points.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, all of a sudden they stopped there. Okay, we're going to make this announcement. That was Johnny Marshbanks' 1,000 career points. And I didn't, I think Pete Wish had 1,000 points also. But I didn't know that was even part of the program, or I was even getting that. Then that year we went up to Mars Hill, and it was like I couldn't miss. And it wasn't like I was getting all the rebounds. Wasn't me scoring under the bucket.
Right.
At that time, I had developed a good jump shot.
Mm-hmm.
I had learned that the proper technique, and I remember Fred McCall several times going, oh, like I wasn't supposed to shoot, and then it would go in, and he'd go, yeah.
Oh, no, great shot.
Oh, good shot. Yeah, you shouldn't have taken it, but go ahead, it went in. That was me shooting as much outside, and sometimes it was at the top of the key, which is probably 3-point range, and there was no dunking, no three-pointers at that point. But I was working on the third guy that kept fouling me, the third guy that was defending me toward the end there, that I would go to the free throw line, and there I was hitting the free throws as well. So I was hitting free throws. I was hitting outside. I'd get some rebound stuff. Most of it was outside shooting free throws. And then literally took me out with a minute and something to go. I probably could have been higher than that, but never realized that it was 46 points until it was all over.
Well, folks, only 2 other players in Campbell basketball history have scored at least 46 points in a game, and both George Lehman, who went on to play in the NBA, and Chris Clemons, who went on to play in the NBA, are the other 2. George had 46 against Bruton Parker in the junior college era, and then Chris, of course, scored 51 against UNC Asheville his sophomore year in the Big South Conference tournament. John, do you remember what kind of style of game y'all played under Coach McCall and Coach Roberts?
Fred McCall called it continuity, and it was a motion offense that allowed them. If they could get it to me at the top of the key or free throw line, if the defender stayed off of me, they would crisscross. I would look for that screen on those forward players, and then the forwards would slide up on either side or back door. That was something I respect and love Fred McCall, because he put together, from what he could see and talk to other ball coaches, that he respected what was working in the industry, and he would adapt it for what we were trying to do. So if it wasn't a back door, if that guy stayed off of me, I shot it. If he didn't, and I could give it to the guard, and then a lot of times that switch off would come where literally one of the guards would be open right underneath it. And if I could figure out a way to bounce pass or tip it in there to him, then that continuity offense was run it. That was number one. That's what we called for all the time. If it was something different, it was somebody like, if it was a Cordell move, there was another number, because what was happening at that point was he would go under, there would be a double screen, and he would pop out, and either one of the other guards would hit him with it, or I would hit him with it, and that was happening a lot of times, because once you found a good shooter, you wanted to make it work.
Ride the hot hand, right?
Ride the hot hand. That's the way it works.
John, outside of basketball, what are some of your other best memories of your time on campus?
Wow. The the fact that, and it bothered me in one way, but then it didn't in a lot of ways, because being a campus that was close to home for a lot of people, weekends, people went home.
Mm-hmm.
So the TV lounge in each dorm, I stayed in kitchen on the first floor, of course. That's where all the ball players were. 102 with Frankie Stewart, and the TV room was open for TV, or the movie theater that was playing that night was not crowded. It was always something that you could do on campus that was not loud or wild or crazy, or of course they didn't have a football program, so there was but there were a lot of baseball games, there were a lot of soccer games that I attended, simply because that's the first time I'd ever seen any soccer. My high school didn't play any soccer.
Right.
I thought those guys were awesome. Same thing with wrestling. Oh my goodness, I'd never seen. I was raised with live Atlanta wrestling. My daddy had his special seat at the Atlanta Municipal Auditorium that we would take me to once in a while on Friday nights. Wrestling, Freddie Blassie, and all those bloody shenanigans stuff going on. But yeah, real wrestling, real soccer, that was some good stuff. That was very, and I liked being, on campus like that. And consequently, once in a while, Cheryl, the girl I met, and I literally hit it off with her right off the bat. So, I mean, if she was on campus, we did the movie, the free flick, or go get a sandwich or something. Of course, I didn't have a car. She didn't have a car, but we'd be on campus whenever that happened. Then I actually asked her to marry me, and we got married the sophomore. Let's see, wait a minute. We got married in August of '68, right before our senior year. Wow, the funniest story, and I don't know if you want to put this one in there, is when I said something to Coach McCall about Cheryl and I want to get married. And in no time, and I think almost immediately, he said, "You drive." So I got behind in his car, and here he is. He's sitting in the passenger seat, and Cheryl's sitting behind me, so he could see both of us. And he tried to talk us out of getting married. We didn't give him a date or anything, because we're talking to him in February, my sophomore year or junior year or something like that. And we weren't getting married until like August before the senior year, if that was going to be a good date. And he said to me about, being distracted, of course, not being able to, of course, he was worried about his basketball team.
Right.
Well, I would have been too as a coach, getting distracted. But then when he leaned over, he had his arm up on the seat at me, and he leaned over and looked at Cheryl, and I think she turned red. I don't think I've ever seen her turn red, unless you have to, is what Fred was like. Oh my goodness! Oh, that wasn't even going on. Nope. And we had a good understanding, though, that wasn't going on, and that wasn't the reason we were going to get married. We just felt like that would be the right time for us to do that. So next thing I know, Fred McCall has arranged the apartment over there in faculty housing, where the football stadium is now.
Right.
Faculty housing. I still had a meal ticket. Cheryl's family kicked her out, because if you're going to get married before your senior year, then you're going to have to pay for your senior year of college and yada, yada, yada. So all of a sudden now we've got to have student loans for her to pay for college and everything else. I was not their favorite person to be marrying their special Cheryl. So yeah, that was part of that. But we did great our senior year. I had the apartments and my bicycle to get back and forth to campus and go to class.
Our guest on Tales from the Creek is John Marshbanks, class of 1969 and Campbell Hall of Fame member. John, when you graduated, the American Basketball Association had formed and was beginning to challenge the NBA to sign college standouts to pro contracts. Tell us about your time and your association with the ABA, with the Miami Floridians, and that time.
That was interesting in the sense that I had injured my knee. My junior year, I was able to still play, but I can remember going up to Raleigh and them draining my leg and draining my knee and making sure that I was okay. I'm sure today they probably would have done a surgery and I'd have been fine, maybe sat out a season or something like that. But at that time, I didn't feel like I was that good until I got a letter from the Carolina Cougars saying we would like for you to join us for the fall season. Workout starts on such and such, and we're going to pay you so much money and this, that, and the other. And so that was the first contact of anything that I had heard. Then I heard, too, the Phoenix Suns had me on like some sort of draft that was like number 16 or 17 or something like that at that point. Nobody ever contacted me, though. And I'm not sure if one of the coaches relayed that to me or not, but I heard that. But then what I decided to do was, let's just see what this knee does. I can still work out. I can still play. I can work this thing out. I went into a teaching position down in Marietta, South Carolina. And but before that fall season of teaching started, I got through the basketball camp, did well. That was like in the basketball camp at 65. I I taught a year, 65, 66. I went back to the basketball camp. I still felt good. And somebody said something about the Miami Floridians. And I said, well, I haven't heard anything. The next thing I know, I get a phone call and the Miami Floridians are offering me what's called a cut contract. I would have to make the team. I would show up at a certain date, and then they'll put me on an airplane and pay for the tickets. And I went down to Miami and was working out with them, and on a cut contract. And I could, boy, that was you may have to cut this one, but that's the first time I ever saw drugs where people mobbing speed and run up and down the court, not being very effective, other than the fact they could run up and down the court all day long. But I could also tell that I could serve the club. I could serve them well because I was big enough to play the position. I had a good outside shot, and I was rebounding balls here and there when we did a lot of the scrimmage and workout stuff like that. Then we had a couple of preseason games, where we would compete against some of the colleges or close by people that had teams together. But I noticed that in that we did have some people in the stands, but I noticed too that there's two other ball players that weren't as good that were playing in the scrimmages and stuff and playing the ball. I went and asked the coach. I said, "Is this an indication of my value to the program?" He said, "No, you said you're good." He said, "But what we've got to work with right now is the club needs to make money. And here's a player that's from Long Beach State, that's close by. Here's another player from another college or university close by. That's somebody close by. We've got to make sure that we've got the revenue to bring this in." And I said, "Well, if that's the case," I didn't play one season game at all with them. I ended up, they gave me the plane ticket, and I went back home.
Well, and that was part of the strategy for the teams, because if you'll recall, the Carolina Cougars had Larry Miller from UNC and Van Williford from NC State. And then they eventually brought Billy Cunningham back from the 76ers.
I remember them saying that.
Dennis Wysick, and so that was the thing. If we're in these markets where people are used to college players, we need some association there. And I guess it worked out for the four teams that eventually were merged into the NBA.
That's right. There were only four,
right? That made it through.
That.
But it sure did change professional basketball. The competition and it made the salaries go up and the competition for great players. John, you went on to graduate school at East Carolina, and I understand at that time you opened John's bicycle shop. Tell me a little bit about,
I had classes that was going on, and then Cheryl had a job at the library on campus. But in order to, I felt kind of bad because I'd come back to Campbell and was helping Danny Roberts with some of the scouting stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And was life insurance. I had life insurance and was doing on campus, and I was also working with Danny Roberts, scouting some clubs and stuff like that. And then I decided, well, let's go to graduate school. Let's do this and do it right. And that way I can come back out. I can have a master's degree and teach or have a better high school position coaching. And I was in graduate school along with Frankie Stewart was there. Charlie Babbs was there. A couple other people that I knew from either Campbell or close by were in graduate school with me. And then I decided, well, I'll just get a little part-time job over there in downtown Greenville. And I was working in sales for this guy that had Sutton's tire distributor, Swin bicycles, stuff like that. And another kid, Leroy, that was one of the mechanics there, was basically in charge of repairing bicycles. And I thought, well, this is a pretty good gig. I could probably do this bicycle repair stuff in my garage at home. I mean, or someplace with that, and that would work out better because I'm not able to work the schedule and stuff like that. So I opened. Then a kid shows up from Louisiana and says, listen, you want to open a bicycle shop together? And so he comes in and said, oh, well, I can order bicycles from so-and-so, and you could be this, and we could have this little shop. And next thing I know, I'm part of a bicycle shop. And then he decides that he wants to move on. So he said, well, just buy me out. I put $1,500 in it, said, buy me out. So I said, can I just send you some money? So all of a sudden, I'm the owner of John's Bicycle Shop in downtown Greenville. 3 locations later, I end up on Cotant Street next door in the University Book Exchange with a very nice bicycle shop. We were doing great business because that was when 10-speed bikes were just all crazy, and I had all kinds of good bikes come in, Peugeots and everything, Cannondales and all. Then I opened up another bicycle shop in Wilson, North Carolina, and we decided, Cheryl and I at that time decided that we would go to live in Wilson, and I would keep either Mike or Jeff managing the bicycle shop in Greenville. And then Jeff wants to open up a bicycle shop. I said, well, we'll do it together. It'll be John's Bicycle Shop in Raleigh. So I had 3 bicycle shops. And there I was in the bicycle business. Just God has his way of introducing stuff that does or even does not have part to do with what your future might look like. But at that point, it was fun. We were making money. And until somebody started looking through the front window in Raleigh, and they could see the phone number right beside the pay booth on the front of the building. They could see my number, and they were charging. I got an exorbitant bill from the phone company about my phone in Raleigh. And I'm going, what's going on? The phone number was being used on the How about long distance charging long distance? So I had to close the store. I couldn't pay the bill. So we with 2 stores, I ended up with that one. I paid it out and everything worked out okay. But then there wasn't enough business to do that. So Cheryl was at that time working as a librarian. And again, I went and got another job, sales, traveling, and that worked out pretty good. Not making a whole lot of money at that time. Had really struggling. And then the Cheryl, in order to make a little extra money, started making these craft items like wound up wisteria and wound up honeysuckle and wound up grapevines, and said, I can make some money with this. And God told her, well, you can make money with this, but you're going to have to put some time and energy in it. And Cheryl said, well, do you have anything else I can make money at? And again, it was make grapevine wreaths. So that started the Marshbanks by way of the vine. Started off in the crafts business, and our woven grapevine wreaths went from 24 inches all the way down to what we called a napkin ring that was about 2 or 3 inches round. And we were selling and selling and selling to stores and craft shows and stuff like that with these little grapevine wreaths. And all of a sudden, I'm getting in my car, start down the road, and Cheryl goes, wait. What is a gross? And I said, it's 144. She said, this lady on the phone just ordered 4 gross of our napkin rings and some candle rings and some more of these grapevine rings. Can you stay back and help me with this? He said, no. I said, no, I've got to be in Greensboro, but I'll come back and we'll talk some more about it. Next thing I know, we're shipping grapevine wreaths all over the place. All right, Christmas is over now. What do you do with grapevine wreaths? Okay, let's make something else. So Cheryl starts playing with something, and she's shaped up a heart-shaped grapevine wreath. And at that time, I thought, well, it's not that tight in the top indention that let me show you something. I grabbed a clothes hanger out of the closet that happened to be darker brown looking. But I grabbed it and bent it up and shaped. Let's wrap that one, because that wire will hide inside the grapevine and it'll keep the shape, and it'll make, because the way we round and twisted and literally braided the shoe, it wasn't just round and round. It was braided. It was beautiful. All of a sudden, here we are with Valentine's coming around, and what's it take? What in the Country Notebook, Country Living magazine said, what's it take to put an ad to sell grapevine wreaths and heart-shaped grapevine wreaths? Cheryl goes in the grocery store and pulls up a Country Living magazine, and there it is, a whole 1/3 of a page ad for Country Notebook mail order catalog with our heart-shaped grapevine wreath featured in it. So there's a wreath business that went from free vines to spending the time to listen and to do what we were asked to do. God's given me a talent to be able to cut out on a bandsaw stuff that I've never cut in my life or done anything like this in my life. And so let me show you something. And I cut out a goose that was about 14 inches high. First ones I had cut out, though, was the guy was at James I. Miller Tobacco Company. He said, I can cut those out for you. And he cut me out 12 of them. I said, can I pay you for them? He said, no. He said, no, that's just some scrap I had. So I took him home, and I said, I went out to work and came back, and Cheryl had taken some old paint she found in the garage and painted it on there, and it had wood chips in it and junk in it, and she started wiping it off and cleaning it off. And I said, wow, I kind of pictured the calico paint job and the eyelashes and all kinds of cutesy stuff with the country craft. She said, no, this is what we want. I want to beat it up a little bit more, make it look rustic. She had one over her arm when we went to Wythe Green up in Williamsburg when we were delivering baskets, grapevine baskets and wreaths and stuff. She had one over her arm, and the lady goes, where'd you get that? I said, well, my husband cut it out and I painted it up. She said, yeah, how much are they? And she said, $12. And she said, how many do you have? I said, she said, I have 12 in the car. She said, I'll take all of them. All of a sudden, there I am in the woodworking crafts business, and I didn't know I could even cut out anything. So there we were. Now we're in the full-time crafts business with grapevine wreaths and wooden cutout stuff. We did street shows, mall shows, walked away from one big 4-weekend deal down in South Carolina with $30,000. And we had no idea that would be any kind of anything. Went from there to all of a sudden the stores that were located close by wherever we were in the craft show, would want to know if they could buy it. And I said, well, this is what it costs me.
Mm-hmm.
This is my markup on it. If you want to buy it for what we're selling it for right here in the craft show, I'll sell them to you. Okay, we'll buy it. Because they were going to double that in their store.
Sure.
So that ended up being store after store after store going, and we ended up with 24,000 stores selling from California to everywhere, all over the place. In 12 mail order catalogs with not only our country craft wooden items, but I was even doing, we even shipped a moolah, a cow that was a small and large one I made out of I designed and made it out of a wood, and the milk bag would lift up inside. You could push it up inside, tip it, and it would drop out, and it had a slot in it. It was moolah, the bank.
Right.
Moolah. I shipped a boxcar load of moolah banks over to Signature Mail Order Catalog of Japan.
How about that?
A container of cows going to Japan.
John, in long about 1990, y'all moved to Boone, and you returned to teaching. Tell us a little bit about that time.
That was in conjunction with the fact that Cheryl was doing and standing on the showroom floors of all Javits, McCormick in Chicago, Boston, Javits in New York, Atlanta, Dallas, San Francisco, London, England. All that transpired in the middle of that. And then toward the tail end of what was coming and going with the craft business, in the midst of that was a guy. Cheryl we had an antique corner cupboard, and with that corner cupboard, Cheryl wanted to highlight or enhance the appearance of her great grandmother's china.
Mm-hmm.
I said, well, yeah, we could buy one of those little lights to go inside of it. I can take the cord and stick it down in a crack or hang it off to the side like that, like this. No, that would mess it up and you'd have to drill holes in it. I said, I know, I'll find a crack in it and you won't see the cord. I can hide the cord somehow. She said, no, somebody's got a light that operates with a battery somehow. So, okay, you go look for it. I'll continue with at that time I had 35 employees cutting out little wooden craft items or tracing patterns on a board. But she went out and looked. There's nothing here, but I'm gonna make it. I said, well, it's fairly simple. And if you think about a flashlight, take a look in the flashlight. I didn't have one with me, and I said, take a look in the flashlight. The light bulb connects to the side of the container for the bulb, and then the bottom of it contains tacked to the battery, and the bottom of the battery sends the wire up to the sides of the light bulb, and that's how the light bulb turns on. I drew one. She said, I'm going to have it. I think we can have this made. We patented that light called Liberty Light, and I still hold the patent. I mean, it's been violated, of course, and then copied several times and modified several times so it doesn't break the patent. But at that time, we ended up manufacturing in Korea, with the brass bases being made in India, and there we were importing the battery-operated light. The first year it did $3.5 million. The next year is like $5.25 million, and then it was copied so bad that our lawyers told us that the battery light, we would be chasing people spending $200,000 to $500,000 with attorney fees and stuff like that just to get this person to stop, cease and desist. Then he would sell it to his uncle or brother or hand it over to another part of his company. You'd have to go sue and find them. Yes, cease and desist. Then Cheryl goes, we got ours. We knew what we were doing. It's over, and I'm tired. And physically, that's when we moved to Boone. The guy walks up, John, a friend of mine up the road, says, you interested in selling your business? So we sold the business. Closed down the Liberty Light, sold the business, the woodworking business, and there I went back to teaching. So I was living in Boone, driving through Blowing Rock down to Lenore, North Carolina, to teach school, 42 miles. Started teaching. God has its plan. Every time I kept looking. There was something out there. I thought that I had renewed my teaching certificate in education for the hearing impaired. I was going to be a sign language teacher, interpreter, and teach a grade level of some sort, and I could do that. and went to Boone, and there was nothing there. And then Tuesday, I'm driving back through the different counties close by. Andy Anderson calls home. Cheryl calls me, says there's an Andy Anderson down there looking for somebody that has a position open and he needs to talk to you. And I called him, and Wednesday morning I went for that interview. There was a ICT, Industrial Cooperative Training position at the high school. He said, I need somebody to start tomorrow. So I started teaching that next day.
How about that?
It opened up because they couldn't open it up until whatever the process was that guy had left.
Right.
So they didn't have the opening until that day. So there I am teaching in a position that they gave me 13 years experience because I had been hiring kids to work at the woodworking business and running a business. So I had an education degree. I mean, I had a teaching certificate and a education for the hearing impaired. And then I had a business degree for running the business. And then I had a ICT, everything, God, it was all in it. And then that position was good and that was okay. And then there's a health position at Hudson Middle School, my first degree from Campbell College, a health degree, health and PE. I took that position. So for 3 more years I taught and then retired at 62.
John, you were inducted into the Campbell Hall of Fame in 2006. Especially for a guy who didn't make his high school basketball team until his sophomore year. What does that honor mean to you?
Cheryl said it the best because she said that, and Linda re-emphasized and confirmed it with me, knowing that my focus was not to be part of the Hall of Fame or not to be the leading scorer or not to have, what I did. My effort, and it goes back to where I came from. If it is to be, it's up to me.
Mm-hmm.
And with God's help, there's a whole lot of possibility. You just have to lean yourself in and listen and be willing to be and operate in that gifted area. I found out what my gift was. I could play. So in order to honor back, to give back in my faith, I felt like the harder I could play, the bigger the gift was that was given to me. So by playing well, I was doing the right thing. By doing well, whether it was cutting out on a bandsaw, I'd never cut a thing out on a bandsaw in my life.
Mm-hmm.
Run a business, I don't know what running 35 employees is like, but the opportunity is there. And you operate where you can and get as good as you can. And if it goes away, it goes away, like the bicycle business or like the woodworking business or the country business, country crafts. All that goes away, but there's always something else. Mm-hmm. It's like when Cheryl passed away. I had no idea that there was a Christian woman that could be as spirit-filled as Cheryl was. And we were very, very, very active in our church. Mm-hmm. Cheryl took a yard sale at Boone United Methodist Church that was doing $1,500 a month up to $60,000 a year.
Mm-hmm.
On one event that developed into a bazaar because she knew how to market. She knew how to take things and do things. And I would take the furniture that was donated and clean it up and fix it up and repair it and glue it back together, send it back. And a piece that I got for free, somebody was throwing away, they got $400 for it at the silent auction. Those are those things that happen when you operate in your gifted area, that is just blows you away when you begin to understand where you're coming from and who you owe what to. I owe every bit of it to those people that stepped in for me, Coach Padgett, Fred McCall, Dr. Marshbanks, all the teachers that spent that extra time with me. Because I wouldn't, my brother was valedictorian in the high school, and the high school teacher would go, "Oh, you're Johnny Marshbanks. Your brother's Bobby?" Yeah, but I was making a C in that English class, and Bobby was acing them. Yeah, that kind of thing. I wasn't your brainiac.
John, you've relocated down here to New Bern. What's retirement looking like for you now, and how do you like to spend your time?
Ooh. Wow.
Because you've been busy.
Yeah, been busy. We got down to New Bern in a little townhouse right across the canal from Hannah, one of the younger daughter.
Mm-hmm.
And Julie was teaching here too. But we were here a year before she passed away. And I enjoyed the area well enough, but I still owned the Boone house. Mm-hmm. And we would go up occasionally and try to make that work. But it was never really enough to keep it up and to keep it fixed up and cleaned up and everything. So when Cheryl passed away, I figured that it would probably be better for me to stay down here closer to the girls, and that whatever happened would happen. And I never really, in my mind, I never really thought about what I would do or how I would take care of the Boone cabin unless I went up there and started taking care of it. So I had retired at 62 years old. So I'd been with Cheryl a little while, didn't want to do the winters. We came down and stayed with Hannah. Then we bought that place. Hannah got married that year, and Julianne had her child, Cash,
mm-hmm.
was born that year. And then Cheryl passed away in August that year. And then I was working around for about 2 years before with handyman Tim Fodry, two-man Tim is who I was working with, and doing great because he loved the fact that he could cut me loose and I could do anything,
mm-hmm.
woodworking. And I worked with him. I was by myself in the townhouse, and that was when I met Linda.
Mm-hmm.
She was living in Fairfield. I did not date her again until met her in August. She broke up with her friend in December. We had our first date Good Friday.
Mm-hmm.
On Good Friday at the Garber Methodist Church.
Mm-hmm.
She tells people that that was my first date with her. She tells people when I touched her back to ask her through the door, you first, kind of, as a gentleman would. She knew that I was the man that she was supposed to marry.
Wow.
10 days after that, I found out more about Linda, and we hit it off. We had breakfast, or she met me at the Country Kitchen, or not Country Kitchen, at the breakfast place downtown New Bern, and we talked a little bit more. And she wrote in her journal 10 days after that first date, if John asked me to marry him, I'm going to. And then 2-3 days after that, she came in from a 100-mile bicycle ride on Saturday, and then another 100 miles on Sunday. I said, Linda, I'll come to your house over in Fairfield. I'll come to your house. I'll bring chicken and vegetables and stuff. I'll fix some dinner for you. And she came in and she let me in, and I started fixing up, and she was showering, of course. But there she is with energy after a 200-mile bicycle ride over the weekend. She'd been camping out. It wasn't like she was living in a motel room over there in Little Washington. Or no, she was down in Oriental.
Right.
Really. I mean, she's a bicycle rider, but she had not learned to be a bicycle rider. She had developed that by meeting the boyfriend 4 years earlier. He was a biker. And then I asked her to marry me that night. It was 2 weeks after our first date. Yeah. And it's history. When you know, and when God puts things together like that for you, and it's pretty obvious. She is a spirit-filled, beautiful Christian woman, and I could not have asked for a better relationship with her. We ended up selling. We were going to Puerto Rico, Culebra, Puerto Rico, for wintertime, January, February, with a friend of hers down there, renting a little apartment down there. And then we came back. This is five years right now that we came back right at COVID. And we looked at 2 or 3 other houses thinking that we want something on the river and ended up finding this house. And here we are on the Trent River, and we love it down here because she's born and raised here. She knows a lot of people that are here. Her brother still lives here, Billy. And so it brought her back home.
Finally, John, can you put into words how Campbell University and the Buies Creek community have impacted your life?
Well, first off, my whole basketball thing and interest and desire developed into obviously a lot greater than I ever even anticipated or even gave it a thought to have developed into records being held and Hall of Fame. And now I love the fact that I was able to, because of the business aspect of it all, was able to give back to Campbell financially in memory of Cheryl for the student union, and then in memory of Fred McCall. Because those people meant the world to me. And it gave me the basketball, gave me a feeling of being at home, not because Dr. Marshbanks was there and not necessarily because the basketball program was put together so well with basketball camps. Oh, my goodness, met some of the most wonderful bunch of people you could ever imagine that had the same passion for basketball. And then you had the postmaster that knew when a letter came in that said Marshbanks, the creek, and that was on the envelope. It had to be me, so he was able to throw it in my box. And then meeting Cheryl on campus, but all the professors that I had classes with, Dr. Easley in history and McCall in biology and the French teacher. Of course, I had to take French twice to get that credit, but everything else, all my grades, all the teachers I had, all were supportive and very helpful, very family oriented. They wanted the smaller campus gave me more than today they say, and they recruit you with the fact that the college is small and they can help you. Well, back then, that wasn't a sales feature. It's just something they did.
Mm-hmm.
That's how it developed. That's how it started. Burgess Marshbanks' dad, Burgess Sr., was a math professor when it was an academy.
Right.
So that's why they're there. And Dr. Marshbanks, of course, a dentist in Lillington. But that was part of the family. And what Campbell has done with Norman Wiggins coming in and knowing everybody's first name all over campus, and you'd be away from the campus 20 years and they'd still call your name. And all the progress that has been made with not only the beautification that's being done, but my stars, oh my goodness, I should say my stars more than once, because that's the phrase that Fred McCall used all the time. My stars. Gee, Manelli. How'd you get that? My stars with Fred McCall. But someone that would discreetly take you under their arm. Yeah, everybody else called me Johnny McCall, but discreetly take you under his arm. Obvious that I was kind of like a favorite, I guess. But he put together an awesome basketball program, and because of his passion, and everybody else that was involved was passionate about it. Danny Roberts, when he came in, it was a shock to have in December that had January start back with Danny Roberts, the coach. But, I mean, he was there all the time anyway. I mean, we were playing basketball. We had a great season, and he finished us up just perfect. Like, you couldn't ask for a better guy. I remember one time at one of the alumni things that we attended, when Danny was still coming to the games, he said the best big man Campbell ever had.
Wow.
And I never thought that because I wasn't keeping up with how many big men Campbell had. And those are the people that kept me there. Family, closeness.
I'm Stan Cole, and our guest today on Tales from the Creek has been Campbell Hall of Fame member John Marshbanks. Thank you, John, for sharing your Tales from the Creek.
You're very welcome. Thank you for being here for me. I appreciate it.